So how about we get started by talking about how we are moving from Office from us to Office with partners.
That's great. Let's dive right in. What we're looking at here is Word. This is Office16, Win32. And what we see is a solution from DocuSign. Scott was talking about them earlier. They do digital signatures, and they've integrated the power of their service directly into Office using a new modern web add-in framework. It's built on top of HTML5 and JavaScript and communicates the document through a JavaScript object model. Let's switch gears and look at another one. This is an add-in that we're building, partnering with SAP, that makes it easy for me while I'm building a spreadsheet like my product inventory information to pull information directly from SAP. This is built on top of SAP for Gateway for Microsoft. One of the great things about the new add-in framework is that it works across platforms. So let's switch over to the browser, and in Excel Online, I get to see the same spreadsheet with the same great add-in experience running in both places.
It's the same add-on that goes everywhere Office goes.
That's exactly right. And in fact, let's take a look at Excel for the iPad. And what we see is exactly what you want to have. The same solution hosted in Excel for the iPad, showing the same add-in running for SAP. And this will be released in upcoming months. But let me just show you how I could use that. To connect to SAP, I'll click Connect, and it does exactly what you want, which is connect to my on-prem SAP server, pull the content out, and deliver it directly inside of my spreadsheet running on the iPad. Cool. Let's talk about something very different. Let's talk about making a presentation. And when I'm doing this, I, of course, want a constant source of high-quality professional photographs that I can integrate into my slide deck. PicHitMe is a relatively new company that is building just such a service and has provided an add-in here that lets me search through the photos in the service and paste them directly within PowerPoint. And one of the key things about this add-in model is that it's a roadmap for how we're going to do add-ins going forward. So let's take a look at the newest member of the Office family, Sway. This is a tool for interactive storytelling that runs great on the web and renders beautifully mobily. And we've integrated a set of services that make it easy for me to pull in content. We've integrated with Pickit, and we will be delivering in upcoming months live services. We will be delivering in upcoming months the exact same framework and add-in model that runs across all of the endpoints for Office. That's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. But let's take a look at people working in Outlook, professional users handling and managing all their email, dealing with a great deal of information. They want to stay up to date on who are all these people that we're talking to. And what we're showing here is an add-in from LinkedIn that makes it easy for me to do that. It pulls the users off the to and CC line. It shows them to me directly in the context of my email, so I don't have to leave the flow of how I'm doing my work. Salesforce has built a very similar thing that pulls from the to and CC line, but also looks up the companies that are showing up on the mail thread. So I get to see the people and connect to them in Salesforce, but I can see the accounts, and I can drill right into the opportunities and take action from here within Outlook without leaving the flow of my work.
And it's been great to be working with the Salesforce team because they've really exploited all of the extensions we have across the entire surface area of Office, be it in Excel or in Outlook or in other areas, and built the business process right into the collaboration and communications infrastructure. And that's fantastic to see.
Absolutely. Outlook is not just about mail. Outlook is also about my appointments and my calendaring. And it has all that information in a structured way. But one of the important things for me is not just being at the meeting, but getting there on time. We're partnering with Uber to build a solution that does exactly this. So here's an add-in that Uber has built that I can set an Uber ride reminder to show up ahead of time and make sure that I get to where I need to go. As we switch over here to the iPhone, what I actually see is I've got a reminder from Uber saying slide to get a ride. So I'll go ahead and do that. It brings up Uber, and it sets my pickup location. The cool thing is that it got my destination because that lived in Outlook. So right. Outlook knew where I needed to be, and now Uber knows where I need to go.
Now that's great. So that shows you how applications that you build show up throughout Office. They extend beyond any single application. Now let's talk a little bit about this graph. How are we building the graph and exposing the graph to developers?
Yeah, let's actually pop it open and take a look at exactly what it looks like. So this week at Build, we are announcing a preview of the unified API endpoint for Office 365 APIs. This builds on top of the file mail calendar workloads that we delivered last fall. And what it does is make it easy for developers to get to this data in a unified, consistent way. So we're just popping open a little API Explorer tool that can show us what do some of those request and response patterns look like. So what will you as a developer have to do in order to get access to this rich data? What you can see is the URLs are pretty simple. graph.microsoft.com, version number, and the tenant that I'm connecting to. And this will make it easy for me, in this example, to query Active Directory to get a list of users. I'm querying from users for a particular department, in this case operations, and what I get back is exactly what you would expect. Clean, well-formatted, easy to understand JSON. Every developer in the room has a whole toolkit that can parse this and use it to build great solutions. But the point is that this is actually a graph, and so I can go from an individual user to drill into their files. All I have to do to get to the files from OneDrive for Business is stick /files on the end of the URL, and from there I see data documents coming back from OneDrive. These are just the files that the logged-in user has permission to see.
And that's the powerful concept, which is you no longer are going to different applications for different data. You're not going to Active Directory for users and groups, and then to OneDrive for files. But you're able to traverse the entirety of the graph with these APIs.
Exactly right. In fact, speaking of groups, let's pull up another example. Office 365 has a new concept for a unified modern group that brings together the people and the documents and conversations and calendar that they're having, and we're exposing that through the unified API. So I can query the Active Directory for groups, and I can navigate through them to find files that belong to those groups. So here we actually see stick on a /files, and it brings up the files associated with that group, again trimmed for the logged-in user. Now, this notion of logged-in user is a really common pattern for people building solutions. And so we've actually made it super easy. There's a me token that you can stick in your URL to just get back the data for the logged-in user.
And that's probably very important because everything here is permissioned through the policies and ACLs that you put into AD. So in some sense, the me token gives you access for the user using the application's credentials.
Exactly right. And because now I have access to my information, I can go and look at my calendar, just /events on the end of the URL, and that brings back appointments that are live in my Outlook calendar. And the same idea to get to messages, /messages, and boom, I'm in my inbox coming from Exchange. And it's just that easy.
Awesome. So how about we talk about the last concept, which is how do we go from here to really building the richness of intelligence inside of your applications?
Sure. So this is powered by the Office Graph, and the thing about the Office Graph is we talked about data, we've talked about add-ins, and we've really talked about how we can use that to drive a whole other set of insights. We know who are the people, the conversations, the meeting, and the organizations, and what we can do with that is provide additional insights to developers. They can use that in the preview here to query the graph to get information out, and in addition, we're delivering a first-party app in the shape of Delve that actually provides me every day with information about what am I working on and helps me search and discover the content that my colleagues are using.
There's something funny going on?
I'll keep going.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so here I am looking at Delve, and what I see is exactly what you'd expect. Some cards and contact that'll help me stay up to date on what my colleagues are doing. So I see an Excel notebook that is coming out of OneDrive that lets me see here's what my boss built, here's some KPIs, here's an attachment that lives in email. But we've been working with partners to imagine what will it look like when we have additional third-party signals coming into the graph. How can they get into this notification stream? And what we see here are opportunities.
So that's a card from Salesforce.
That's exactly right. This is a card from Salesforce showing the amount, showing information about who owns the account, etc. I can navigate down. Here's information coming from Twitter. And beneath that, we see information coming from Trello. So if people are collaborating in boards, I can navigate directly through and get to that. And let's actually scroll down a little bit further. And what we see is a purchase order coming from Dynamics AX. That looks like a super important one, so it was great that Delve made it easy for me to take action on it.
Right, so this is no longer now information that is inside of the Office graph that's based on the data of our apps, but people are able to extend the graph with additional edges and nodes. That's all surfacing in Delve.
That's exactly right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.